Hi there, this is Doris Benter of Library Arts, and I want to share with you what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be creating a realistic drawing of this cat. It's a cropped image of a cat with an overlay of the grid system that we're going to use today. Each box is numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there's 9 boxes total, and there's 9 boxes coordinating below. Using these boxes and the grid overlay on the cat, I'm going to walk you through how to create a drawing of the cat. So hopefully you will end up with a finished work where you have your original over here and your drawing over there. Very, very similar. Look forward to showing you how to do this. So let's get started by going over the materials. I'll see you in a moment. Okay, so here is our extended image. Now what I have done is I folded my paper in half. This is just for my effort to help you see what I'm drawing. Now I'm going to open it up. Now I want to focus on this first line. So what I'm going to do is lift up my paper where that fold line is, and I'm just going to bring it up to the bottom of the 1, 2, and 3 row. You don't have to do this. This is just helping me to show you what we're drawing. Now, if you look at this first row, row 1, 2, and 3, or the first row with squares 1, 2, and 3, there's not a whole lot to look at, is there? But we're just going to draw in some of these shapes, and this is sort of near the corner here, that we see in the square above. So I see this darkish shape. I'm going to draw that. Over here I see a little bit of grayness in the corner, and I see a little bit of grayness over here. That's all I'm going to draw. I'm not drawing the gray or the white. Now let's move on to number 2. And again, we're just looking at what we see in this block right here. Now we have this kind of A shape kind of coming down. Looks like sort of a house shape. And then it comes in and it goes down. Maybe it's like an ear shape. Then I see some interesting shapes coming down here, kind of like a ghostly gray, darkish shape. I see a shape coming up here and a little bit of a darkening shape coming down here. Again, not a lot of detail, just drawing shapes and lines. Here I don't see much at all. I see this little darkish gray shape, and maybe I see a little bit in the corner and a little bit of grayness over here. That's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to draw the details. I'm not going to shade it in yet. I'm just drawing that. So what I want you to do is to do that first line. And then when I come back in a minute, we're going to focus on the next line. And what I will do is fold my paper again so that the paper is folded up to the number 4, 5, 6 line. So we can focus on the eyes, which is where a lot of interesting things are happening. So do that, and I'll see you in a minute. I'm going to zoom in a little bit for you, but now that we have these light lines indicate on the first 3 squares on the first row, we're now ready to move into a lot more detail on rows 4, on the next row, 4, 5, and 6. So let's start by looking at number 4. Number 4 has a lot of information about the eye, but if you notice, it's not the complete cat eye. The corner of the eye is going to go into number 5, so we're going to focus on this shape, which starts right near the corner below number 1 and fills this corner of number 4. So we're going to use that as a guide for drawing the cat eyes. So let me keep this right here. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this up a little bit so you can see a little easier what I'm doing. I don't suggest you do this. I'm just going to do it on mine to show you what I'm doing in number 4, okay? So, number 4, I see a line coming from the corner, this midway from number 4 into and making a very skinny little triangle there, okay? That's the bit of the eye. Comes to a little triangle shape here. Almost, that's what they call a cat eye, right? That little cat eye triangle. And then it swoops down with a gentle curve that doesn't quite complete the eye. Because remember, that eye is going to be completed over here. Let's draw the inside of the eye, which is this circle, this oval shape, like an egg shape within the eye. So I'm going to go around. Again, I'm not going to finish the eye because even that is finished in number 5. So I'm going to do that. Now notice this wonderful little curve here. We're just going to make a note of that there's going to be a gray curve there that comes in and back below the eye. Then there's a little bit more grayness here. So we're just going to make that soft curve line to show, it's almost like a weird S, to show that there's going to be shading there, okay? Now inside the eye, we of course have the iris, which is all of that space we just drew, but then we have this pupil, and there's actually a little circle around it that's sort of greenish that we're going to see later. So why don't we go ahead and draw in that little circle, then add that leaf shape, which is the pupil, like that. Now remember, we're not seeing this, we're just seeing that. So let's focus on that. In fact, I'm noticing that mine could be just a little bit higher. So we could always go back and make it a little higher. I feel like this should be a little closer. That's a little better, I think. Okay. Now, let's move on to number 5, and that's where we're going to see the rest of the eye right here. So let's continue that line from 4 into number 5, comes down like this, comes up like a little stair step, up again, and then connects with that eye. Bring the rest of the yellow iris in, and there's actually quite a thick area there, okay? So that's one eye. It almost looks like a bird with a shape on its body, right? Now we're going to go into number 5, and again, you can pause the video. I'm going to look at that little gray line. Looks like a little coming right off the eye. There's this kind of little grayness that goes up and into number 6. Again, I'm just noting where there's going to be shading, and I notice a little bit of grayness coming down here and coming down here. Again, I'm not drawing a lot of detail there. I'm just showing where there's going to be shading. Now let's go over to number 6 so we can get the other eye in. And that eye is going to follow right along that line I just put here. It's going to follow that to make the other eye, which is going to come down right in line with the one I just did. So I should make sure the length is accurate, that they can actually match up. Make this a little bit longer. I think it should go like that. So it has the same kind of step up drawing that we had over here, a little step up. And then notice that the eye brushes, does not go up into the corner of number 6. So we're going to have make sure it brushes across that, but then comes close before it goes down. So it's like a little arch shape, and then it goes down, because you'll notice there's a dark shadow there. So let's just put a notation that that's going to be a dark shadow. Without drawing it, we're just putting the notation. Let's get this eye in now. We already got the corner of the eye right here. So now if you notice, it just comes up like a teardrop again, all the way up to a corner, to where that, I feel like mine went a little too far. So I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. And that's okay to adjust, adapt as you go. I think it goes like more like that. Yeah, I think that's more accurate, because it has this grayness that comes over here and down. Okay. And after I finish this line, I'm going to stop again and let you go back and refine yours, because you may want to stop the video. So here in number 5, we do see a little bit of that yellow again coming in, corner of the eye again. Then it's going to go very thin along this eye shape, come around a little thicker here, and come back into there. So you can see how the eyes are beginning to look lined up the way they should. Now we're going to do the same thing as we did before. We have a circle that is near the 6 here. Put a circle here. And we're going to put that same leaf shape for the iris. Below this, you're going to see a similar thing, just like that weird S shape. We're going to have that weird S shape come in here again as it shows us that it too is, but it's going to go the opposite way this time. Is just a reference to shading. So there are the eyes. I'm going to stop here with a close-up of the eyes. I'm going to let you take some moment to draw it, and then we're going to go to the next line, which has numbers 7, 8, and 9. See you in a few minutes. Okay, now we are on to the last row. This is where we see 8, 8, 7, 7, 9, 9. That is because I have moved this up so you can see what I'm doing better. You don't have to do this, remember, it's just for me, it's easier. So let's just start right here with number 7 and focusing on that curve that comes across number 7. That is defining the edge of the cheek. So I'm going to take it right over here, down here to here. That is the edge of this sort of mouth cheek area. Let's do this in number 9 as well. Let's look at that line that comes down and around like that. So we're going to start up here in the corner, come up, down, and down. Now if we look in the middle here, it's going to come up, down, and up. So that's basically the lower jaw of the cat, and you can continue that line right above, so you can kind of see how the line continues right into the number above it. But I'm going to close it up again because I want to focus again now on the nose and the mouth. So the nose is basically a triangle, right? It's near the top of number 8, so it's about right here. We're going to start in the middle with a little dip, almost like a seagull shape. We're going to come to a little curve, almost like we're making a heart again or a triangle, come down here and up. We have 2 little breathing holes for the cat there. Then, if you look, it's like that typical smile that you see on a cat. So you're just going to come up and over and up and over. You already have, actually, I'm going to make that a little lower because I noticed that in the picture, and it's all about relationships, it comes a little lower to the chin. So I'm going to make it a little lower to the chin, a little lower to the chin, like that. Okay, so when I open it up, I basically have my cat here. Now, what you say, what about the whiskers? You can just lightly pencil in some whiskers. I'm not going to try to be perfect here with the whiskers. And I'm then just going to draw in those lines we see in number 7 and 8. We see some lines, again, related to the whiskers here. And we see some lines, I'm talking about these lines here, related to the whiskers that start in number 8, go into number 9, like that. Okay, we basically have our drawing. We're ready to start focusing on color. So let's do that in the next video. I want you to get finished with your basic drawing. In the next video, we'll talk about adding color. See you soon. Okay, we're going to start shading in our picture. So I'm going to focus on just this upper line here. Now I have light gray that I'm just going to lightly color in to this picture because I really want to just give it a light gray tone overall. And then I'm going to go in and add more detail for these first 3 squares. So remember, this is number 1 and this is number 1. 2 and 2, 3 and 3, just like we looked at before. So I'm going to lightly shade it in with gray. Now I can go in and I can start to add a little bit of dark where I see it. For instance, right here along the edges. Like this, like this, like this, like this, like this. Now I can go back in and say, well, okay, so I do see it's a little heavier gray right in here, right around here. It gets lighter over here, but darker as I get closer to the edge. So I'm just, again, looking at the one square, and I'm just focusing on getting what I see in that one square. I'm not focused on getting additional details beyond that square, just trying to get a relatively clear picture of what I see here. So I'm just going to lighten that up, take this over here. That's pretty close, right? It's not a perfect, but we're not looking for perfection here. We're looking for close, just something that basically captures what we're looking at there. I'm going to take this other gray I have in here and introduce a little bit of that. And I think that's pretty good. Now, this is a great way to begin too, because we're not really getting into the details like the eyes yet. So this is a great way to begin. Okay, so why don't we get over here, the next square, 2 and 2, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this dark shape in, this dark shape in that goes up to the top of my picture. I'm going to put a little more down here, a little over here, and then you can see I didn't draw it in before, but there's definitely something going on that goes up there. Now I'm going to come in with that gray again, and I'm going to just blend that gray, getting a little darker and a little lighter where it's needed, but I'm going to blend that gray right into the blacks that I just put down. And I can darken the gray and mix it in with the black there, lighten it here, bring it up there all the way to the edge of the paper, go through the black here, and then down. So again, not so hard, just a bunch of gray shapes. Just think of them as shapes. They're not meant to be fancy, difficult, hard to draw. We're just drawing shapes that we see in the picture, coming down, coming up, whatever they're doing, we're just adding them in. Now we got one more here. So let's start again with that sort of darker black, just a little bit, not too heavy, a little bit of a shading of black here that fades out and goes down here, a little bit darker over in this corner. And now I want to just tell you, while you watch this video, you can always pause the video, say, hey, I want to see how she's doing that. I don't understand. But this is just shapes of dark and light. We're not worried about details yet. That'll be in the next row. So let's focus on just capturing that kind of dark and light that we see. There's kind of this little area that kind of goes and reaches across like that. And that's pretty close, right, to what we see. It's not exact, it's not meant to be exact, but it's pretty darn close to what we're looking at. So I want you to go ahead, watch this. If you want to add a little white in there, I wouldn't bother. I just keep it in the grays, but you decide. Do the first 3 rows. Follow what you see above, stop there, and when you come back, we'll be doing rows 4, 5, and 6. See you soon. We're back and probably ready to work on the most exciting part of the drawing. That's the cat's eyes. So why don't we get right into that? And I'm actually going to start with that darker gray again. And we're just going to highlight this kind of S shape that we talked about originally. That's in the cat's face. And you can see it kind of comes out from the center, and then it comes in lighter towards the eye and out to the corner of the paper. And I wouldn't worry about going out of the edges of the corner of the paper, because what I would do when I was finished is I would actually cut the cat face out and put it on a nice new sheet of paper. So I'm not going to worry too much about that. And to get all this grayness in. I'm leaving that white shape that's right underneath the eye and a little bit around the eye here. So I should erase some of that shading so I can see it. There's a little bit of whiteness here, and there should be whiteness there, okay? And that's where I could come back in later and really brighten that up. Okay, and this gray, though, does kind of go out softly to the edges of the paper, gets a little darker in here as it goes into the outside, okay? And then we can get right in with the black now and use some of that black to show the darker hairs, if you will, coming in towards the gray area and then lightening. And a little darker over here and a little darkness over here towards the edge again of the face. The darkest being right here. So I'm just going to show that there's a little bit of an edge, a little bit of darkness coming in here. Now, I would say let's get in there and really put some dark black. Now this is where you could, as I said before, this is where you might want to use a nice black marker and just get in there and really show off those beautiful cat eyes. This is where the cat's cat eye that women love to wear with eyeliner on their eye comes in. So I'm going to get right in there with my marker and really bolden that black. And I'm actually going to go right into number 5 because I want to show how the corner dips into number 5, goes down and up in that little stair step that we talked about before, and really shows off this glamorous eye that the cat has. He also has that skinny little leaf shape of an eye there. And we're going to get in there now with the golden yellow. Get away from the grays for a minute. And we're going to actually go into that circle too. Like this. I'm going to brighten it up with this yellow. And then there's a little bit of an edge of really dark yellow, and then a light yellow in the center, followed by a little hint of green, believe it or not, a little hint of green. So we have that, and then we want to bring in that gray. That gray comes in again just to bring a little shadow, or even a little black would do. Just a little shadow into the eye, around the eye, and coming in over here too. Just a little shadowing like that. Isn't that nice? Get this beautiful eye there. Now I'm going to go in with my white, and I'm just going to emphasize that whiteness around the eye here down into this area. And then I'm going to bring my gray from over into number 5 into number 4 to emphasize that, oops, pencil's not working very well. Here we go. That grayness coming away from the eye. Not bad. Now, remember that little mountainous kind of shape there? Let's get that in there. We're just going to go over to number 5. And remember, after this line, you can stop it any way along the way, but I'm going to stop it after this line before we go on to 7, 8, and 9, okay? So it's a little darker near the eye, I'm noticing. I'm going to get a little darker and bolder there. And then it's sort of a light to medium gray with a little bit of that gray from above coming down in. So I'm just going to open it up just for a minute to kind of continue the shapes and maybe get in here with this gray. Actually, I'm going to put a little black on top of it again, just to give some definition and to finish some of those shapes, because it really is going to be lighter with the gray as it goes down. So you open it up and you kind of see what's happening here, but I am going to close it up again. So again, we can focus on what's happening here. So I'm going to put a little bit of gray here. Actually, it's black, but I'm calling it like a gray. And I'm going to put a little bit over here around this nose part, just like we did on the other side a moment ago. It has this kind of shape that comes out and then comes back in. And then right in between is going to be that light gray, making a kind of bridge shape with your marks. I like to follow the shape if I can see it, and I do sense this kind of bridge shape happening there. So I'm trying to bring that in, softening that black a little bit. Like that. And now we're going to go over here and just start bringing some of that gray right underneath the eye, like that. Now I could go in here again and just bring a little more emphasis, some of the shapes that kind of come down here. And I can always go back and touch it up later, which I will do, okay? Let's move over to this side. I'm gonna go ahead again, and I'm going to start with that black marker, get right in there, right around that eye. Using that beautiful cat eye to emphasize the outline around this cat's eye. Really emphasizing that, coming down for that skinny little bit. Now we're going to get in there with that yellow, that gorgeous yellow, lighter in the center, brighter towards the edges. And look at that. Now we're really getting a sense of this cat, aren't we? Bring in that little bit of green, little hint of green right here. Darken that cat eye pupil because it's starting to fade a little bit on me. And take a little bit of that black, just to give it a little bit of shadow. Just using the black. I could use a brown, I could use an orange. I'm just going to use the black because I don't want to get too many pencils out that make it difficult for you to maybe find the right color. Now again, right off that eye, we get that dark streak of black. Then we have some, darkish gray coming in here all the way down, followed by the lighter gray. And I'm going to turn my paper a little sideways for a minute. And again, I'm just going to emphasize the direction of the fur. Emphasizing the direction of the fur. So even though it looks white again, I'm making it slightly gray to pick up on what I see here. And I do see some little gray lines coming down here, like that. So we're getting a really good shading, and we're getting very accurate because we're looking so closely at the shape right above us. That makes it a lot easier to see. Okay, I think that's pretty good. I think we're going to probably move on to the next layer, which will be the final 3 rows. And look how long it takes for us just to even get this much done. My goodness. So stop here if you need to stop the video to really look closely. And I'm gonna, in the next video, talk about lines 7, 8, and 9 so we can complete our picture. Have fun. We are back, and once again I have folded the paper so we can focus on the area that we're working on. This time, why don't we start in the middle on square number 8, and I'm going to zoom in on just a little bit again so you can get a good sense of where we are. There. Now I think you can see it a little bit bigger, and that will make it easier for you. Now, I forgot to mention, clearly we need a pink color for that nose. So you can use a red or a pink. I have a couple pinks here that I'm going to probably use this one, which is a slightly lighter pink, and this one, which is a slightly darker pink, okay? But I'm going to start with the gray, actually. I'm going to put a gray tone over the nose lightly, like this. Then I'm going to take a little bit of black, because you definitely see this kind of black in the nostrils, black going around the edges. And again, if you needed a minute to go get those colors, you could stop the video and then start it again. That's what I love about pre-recorded videos that allow you to do that. Now I'm going to bring that light pink in. And you see, I like the way the pink mixes with the gray to give it that pink nose. And then I'm going to make it a little bit darker with, you know what, I think I want to get actually more of a red. I think I'm going to try a red, maybe a red brown, because I'm feeling like, let me try this. Let me make it too pink. This is a little better. Yeah, I like this better. It seems a little darker, and it seems to me like it's doing better with the color. Okay, then I'm going to bring that black in. Again, there's a lot of blackness in that nose. You wouldn't think so. You think, oh, it's so pale, but it really isn't. Okay, now in terms of what's happening, let's stick with this square. We see there's a little bit of gray coming up here, like little tiny horns. And then I'm going to bring the gray in between it, fill that in. I'm also going to fill in all of this little muzzle part with gray, and over here too. Now, this is where we actually see these tiger lines with the whiskers are coming out heavier than the actual whiskers themselves. So I'm going to focus on moving from between 8 and 9 with this black followed up by a little soft gray. 1, 2, and this one starts over here and goes over there. Then I'm going to follow up with some gray underneath it, because it does sort of filter it out. Just blends it out a little bit by adding that gray underneath, like this. It's almost like a little shadow. And I'm tilting my pencil in a diagonal to capture that. And then I feel like I see a little bit of grayness in here too, right near the lip of the cat. There is some white right in here, but white is hard to see. So again, you're better off probably erasing a little bit of the gray away rather than trying to use a white pencil. But you still see little bits of gray lines coming in here, like this, all the way up into here. And you can see there's a lot of dark gray coming down from here, all the way over here. And here too, top of number 7, a lot of dark gray coming in. There's white too for sure, and I'm going to get that in there too in just a minute. Darker over here under that chin line, and it starts out darker and then it gets lighter as it goes off here. But unless you have a white marker, like a paint marker, it's really hard to bring out those whiskers. So I wouldn't really spend a lot of effort. Whoops, there goes my black pencil. Let's get it back here. I wouldn't spend a lot of effort trying to get that in, because truly, that's very hard to show off that part of the picture. There is gray, blackness right here, a little shadowiness for where the mouth comes in. And up here, then the actual little lower mouth is gray. And I'm trying again to turn my pencil to go in the direction of the hair. And then to really show off that mouth, we're gonna create some more shadow underneath so that we can really see the bottom of the mouth as this grayness comes in, like that. Gives it a little bit more of an edge by bringing in that black and light gray. And again, you can always erase it. So this is where you start to open it up and say, whoa, what did I just do? Did I just do that? You're like, yes, I did. Now, for the whiskers, you can take your pencil and sort of try to bring them out, but they're really not gonna show up that much. See, I'm getting little whiskers, but not much. So I wouldn't fuss too much about that. I would focus more on just getting the grays, the black shadowy areas in there again, and not worry too much about the whiskers showing. But I definitely want this chin area to show more. So I'm gonna come over here and put a little bit more gray just to define that chin. Then when you feel like you have a drawing you like, and I'm going to go back into this size now, you can take your scissors and just cut away the excess pencil lines that went outside of your grid. And you can cut right on the line here. And you know what's really kind of fun is to put these both in a picture, because then you can say to someone, look, you know, I did this from here. So I'm gonna cut this one out. And you're just gonna clean it all up. So you can do something like this. You could turn your paper sideways and you could say, well, I want to display them right next to each other, like this. And then again, gives you an opportunity to go back and say, oh, you know, I really do see a couple areas where I could go back in here and show a little shaping that maybe I missed. You know, I want to, you know, lighten that or darken this or whatever you think you need to do. Whoops. I'm going to come up over here. I'm going to go up in the corner. I can say, oh, it's much darker over here than I had it. I could darken this up a little bit over here. Coming right off like that. I could darken it up over here to, again, help show off. And there you kind of get a little bit of an indication of some whiskers. I did come in afterwards and add a little orange brown in here. But overall, and the white, you know, that highlight that you may want to put in here is going to be tough to capture without a good color paint marker or a something like that. But if you want to go in there and capture that, you certainly can. Like I noticed this comes up a little higher. This comes down a little further, right near the eye. So all these things are easy enough to go back and correct or add in, just like that. So here are my two pictures. In the next short video, we'll conclude the project, and I hope that yours came out lovely. And again, you may want to go back and review some of the areas you still may need to shade in further. So I'll see you back in a minute to conclude. All right, welcome back. We're at the end now. I decided to put my two cat images side by side. I just took a little tape, mounted them on black paper, and then put a little paper border of yellow to bring out the golden yellow in the eyes. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned a bit about shading and building up colors slowly. And there's always more I can go back and do to get this even more improved, but I think I'm pretty pleased with it. I hope you're pleased with yours. This is Doris Benter from Library Arts. Thank you for joining me today. In the meantime, until I see you again, stay healthy and stay creative. Take care.